Tell me a little bit about meeting Thomas Merton.
Well, I met Thomas Merton when I was at the Abbey of Gethsemani in Kentucky. And I met him because a friend invited me to go and see him. And I had really no much knowledge of Merton, nor that terribly much interest, because I just didn't know much about him. And he's so I met him, and he said to my friend, he said, well, yeah, you and Henri Nouwen can come and visit me, but you better get a six-pack of beer, so we have something nice to drink together. And so we got out about a six-pack of beer, and he met us around a little lake. There was a little lake there on the property, and we were sitting around. And you know, and he was always in his blue jeans and his jacket, and he said, and he's a very, very, very down-to-earth person. You know, he wasn't not at all somebody who was immediately going to talk about deep spiritual things. He was very, very ordinary, good, down-to-earth, friendly man with a big laugh and a sense of humor, and no attempt to do holy or spiritual or anything. I mean, he was just a very, very good man. And I that's the first time I really met him. And the funny thing about it is that after I met him, I wanted to read all his stuff and decided to read his books. And then he died very soon after I met him, when he went to Thailand, to Bangkok. Yeah. And but that little meeting that I had, ordinary as it wasn't very special. He didn't say anything to me that I will always remember, or nothing of that. It was very, very simple and very, very ordinary. Just guys getting together and having a beer, you know. But still, I mean, that little meeting was important for me, because somewhere the fruit of it sort of came much later. And after he died, I started to read very systematically his work, and he had an enormous influence on my thinking. Enormous influence. I mean, I read everything he wrote, and I wrote a little book about him, and I taught about him, and I gave courses about Thomas Merton. And Thomas Merton had a big influence on my life, but because I gave so many courses on it, I made him also known to many other people.
Because what he wrote, even now, 25 years ago, still sounds fresh.
Yeah.
Still sounds contemporary.
Yeah, some of it, not all of it, but you know, Thomas Merton had a whole development himself. You know, if you read The Seven-Story Mountain, the book that made him known, all the way to his Asian journal on the end, I mean, you see a whole different Merton. I mean...
and you would hope to. You would hope to see...
And that's the exciting things about Merton. Merton is a man who was growing. And if you say, if you would say to him, well, what you say now contradicts what you say in the past, well, who cares? I mean, I used to say what I want to say now, you know, and I'm not checking out if it's consistent. And it's a very, very beautiful person who really lived. And he was a great artist, great poet. And it might be that he, in the long run, will be most remembered because of his poetry. I mean, he's an incredible poet. And he has an enormous literary sense, and he was a good photographer, you know, and so it was a very rich person with an enormous broad interest and openness. He was a very open, and he grew more and more open. He might have started somewhat narrow, you know, Roman Catholic, converted and all that, and
all the answers.
You cannot get more institutionalized than becoming a Trappist. But at the same time, I mean, it's by this discipline and by this sort of commitment to a very particular lifestyle, which is Trappist, which is a very, very strict life, he could bloom.